Hi, welcome back with another movie explanation. Today, I'm going to explain the science fiction film Sapphire Blue, which is the second film in the series. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film opens in London, 1609. A young couple go into a bar and they see Shakespeare telling his stories inside the bar. The young couple who time travel back to 1609 see a man talking to another man who is wearing a lodge cloak. Seeing this, the young couple think that he is working on Romeo and Juliet with the man wearing the lodge cloak. The two men talk about a time traveler. They say that the time traveler lived in 1609 and something about the God's will. After this, the man wearing the lodge cloak kills the other man by stabbing him and leaves the bar. After a while, we see a girl named Gwendolyn Montrose in the future. She must travel in time regularly in order to survive because she has a gene in her DNA that doesn't allow her to stay in one time period. The girl travels in time using a chronograph, a time traveling device. In the next scene, we see a man named George in a room filled with a lot of books and archives. Another man comes inside. George asks him to help him travel back in time to 1912. We can also see Gwendolyn hiding in this archive room. She doesn't see the man George was talking to. He starts a device named chronograph and puts his finger inside the machine and needs a needle to prick his finger and takes a drop of blood into it. With the help of this blood drop, it helps him travel in time because George has a gene in his DNA that helps him travel in time. After this, we can see Gwendolyn in the year 1912 in a place named Hyde Park. Gwendolyn rides a horse with a man and goes to meet some people sitting on a riverbank. The people who are waiting for her are her family, the people who can also time travel like Gwendolyn. They talk about the chronograph. Lucy's also there. The other people of her family ask her why she stole the time machine. One of the family members tells Gwendolyn to be careful and warns her that her life is in danger. In the next scene, Gwendolyn Montrose and her boyfriend Gideon de Villiers go into a village and make out. After this, they get ready to time travel into the future. In the future, Gwendolyn Montrose goes to the lodge and talks to a woman. She tells her where the meeting is taking place. The meeting of the lodge is inner circle. The lodge is in a place where the time travelers and other scientists who won Nobel Prizes, politicians, and church dignitaries meet. The inner circle is forbidden for women over 300 years. A man takes Gwendolyn Montrose with him. He tells her that time travel will be monitored from now on. The person who is in charge of her time travels from now on is a man named Whitman. Gwendolyn Montrose can see a goblin. The goblin is cursed to walk the earth forever. The goblin runs behind her because she's the only one who can ever see her. Gwendolyn Montrose doesn't like the goblin. She considers it as a nuisance. The name of the goblin is Zemarius. After this, Gwendolyn Montrose goes to a room where the time machine that works on genes of her family is kept safe. Gwendolyn's family members are called the gene carriers, the Montrose family, because they are the only ones who are able to time travel with the help of their blood. Gwendolyn travels back in time and goes to a man's house in 1953. She talks to the man, and she tells him that she's a time traveler with the royal gene. Gwendolyn tells the man that she's his granddaughter. The man's name is Lucas Montrose. In the next scene, we can see men meeting at the lodge. They talk about the revival of the eagle and how it can make them powerful than they already are. They also talk about knowing the information about the mission a man named Reuben is on. The man at the lodge chose Gideon de Villiers as the person to keep, ordered to time travels, and knows about the revival of the eagle. One of the head lodge tells Gideon that he's the right person for the job because he has trained, studied, and fought for years. He tells him that the lodge depends on him. In the next scene, Gwendolyn comes back into the future. She calls Gideon de Villiers to ask him about a book named The Green Rider. Gwendolyn's grandfather tells her to find out about it. Gideon de Villiers asks her, "Do you know what happens if the circle of blood closes?" She tells him that humankind will have victory over disease and death. He tells her that it's worth fighting for and die for if it comes to that. While talking on phone, Gideon comes to Gwendolyn's window and knocks. She opens the window and they spend time together. After a while, they start kissing. Gwendolyn's aunt comes to her room and they stop kissing. Gideon leaves the room. Gwendolyn tells her aunt to stop coming to her room. She tells her she needs privacy. Her aunt tells her not to believe in him more than herself. In the night, an old woman comes to Gwendolyn's mom while she's asleep. The old woman looks like she is possessed. After coming to Gwendolyn's room, she screams her name and wakes her up. She wakes up scared and the old woman talks to her. Next morning, Gwendolyn is at school. She takes care of her studies along with the time travel business. We can see she has a lot of responsibility on her shoulders. Gideon takes Gwendolyn to the lodge on his motorbike. She talks to Mr. Whitman at the lodge. Mr. Whitman assigns a new mission to her. Now she has to time travel again. She goes back to her house. While talking to her friend in the room, she finds a book with some letters circled. Gwendolyn tries to figure out what the puzzle is. The letter that was circled in the book are behind the water lilies. The goblin tells Gwendolyn that he can show her where the water lilies are and takes them both to a wall. There is a hole in the wall. Gwendolyn takes the goblin named Zemirius to the wall. The goblin goes into the wall to find out information on the water lilies. Gwendolyn suspects that the water lilies might mean a second chronograph, the time machine they use to time travel. Only the people from her family can travel in time using the chronograph because of their inherited gene. Before they find anything, a woman comes to them. They get scared to see her. That woman tells them to go sleep and stop lurking around in the house. The next day at school, we see Gwendolyn talking to a ghost. The ghost of a man who died in 16th century London. The name of the ghost is James. She asks the ghost if he knew a man named Lord Brampton. James tells everything he knows about Lord Brampton to Gwendolyn. That he was a great musician, and he used to host extravagant parties at his mansion. While she was talking to the ghost, the janitor in the school thinks Gwendolyn is mad because she can't see the ghost, but Gwendolyn can. In the next scene, Gwendolyn gets ready and dresses up like a woman of 1783 London. Even Gideon dresses up accordingly because this time around they were going to a party. After this, Gwendolyn travels back in time along with Gideon. She goes to 1783. They attend one of the parties hosted by Lord Brampton. In the party, they meet Lord Brampton. After a while, a fight breaks out, and now both Gwendolyn and Gideon have to escape from the mansion of Lord Brampton. They come back to the future after facing some near-death consequences in 1783 London. Again, Gwendolyn travels back in time to 1912. She goes to that time in search of Lucy, her sister, and Paul, her sister's boyfriend. She finds them. They take her to a bar to talk. They worry about her because she tells them not to worry and she can take care of herself. She wanted to find them because she thought they were dead, and after seeing them alive, she travels back to the time she came from. In the climax, Gwendolyn and Gideon go back to the time to travel before 1783. In 1783, they meet Lord Brompton again and talk to him about everything. They tell him to help him save the world, but they find out that he's a bad man, and he's one of the men who belong to the Lodge. Gwendolyn and Gideon fight with him and defeat him. In the end, and return back to their time. The film ends here. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. Stay safe, and never forget, you are awesome.